Hello, we're the digital experience team in inbound marketing. This is our release video for the sprint ending today, May 6th, 2021. I'm first up. We completed an iteration of the install page. There are still some issues associated with this page, and this page is one of our top pages that we'll be looking at improving for Q2, but for now, this iteration is complete. Laura, who built the page, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, like you're saying, there will be more ongoing iterations. The logos on each of those cards aren't in color yet, so I have an MR open starting that. But we've updated the header and the bottom section, which are live on about.gitlab/install. But more changes coming.
Cool. Also, I closed out the prospects to free trials OKR and created a short video summarizing the work that came out of that. So that was a customer journey map and some kind of a visualization of some metrics that we pulled. And lastly, for me, I wrapped an iteration of the card UX that includes UI updates, usage documentation, and assigned out some issues for updates and fixes. Next, we have Tyler, who is not on the call, but I believe Javi will be vocalizing for him.
Yeah, so Tyler worked on closing some of the Vue 3.0.0 migrations, and there was a couple incidents. This resulted in creating an MR to consolidate some of the documentation for that stuff in the handbook. And because of the migration, there's stuff that needs to be worked on for the Gitpod integration as well. For those who don't know, Gitpod is like a situation where it lets you run like a browser version environment of the www website. And so obviously changing the Ruby version of that needs the, I'm trying to think of the word, the environment that needs to be updated with Ruby.3.0 as well. So that's something that he was working on. The event template navigation, he created a merge request for that, which I'm sure will be merged shortly. He also wrote a blog post about the slippers blog template. He didn't say to share this, but I think I'm going to share a little bit of it. I think doing this structure of like taking some of his thoughts and writing them down not only helps give outside parties insight into like what he did, but also give us on like especially some of the other engineers on the team insight into like why he did the things that he did, that is more conducive and easier to follow through in like a blog format. So I just wanted to call that out. I was looking at this like before our meeting started. Laura also called out that she also likes comb through some of this stuff. So I think stuff like this is something that if you do something complicated, a blog post might be a really good way of articulating some of that. He had a documentation about how to add markdown in the docs for different slippers component. And he added some of that into my generator MR that I can talk more about in my section. But yeah, just making sure that people have insight into how to write that documentation because it's not super clear in the docs. He also added some notes about the release post in the handbook with the merge request here. And yeah, I think Brandon is up next.
Yeah, I do want to call out number 9 there. I think Tyler added that. It's the whole team, but like a lot of Tyler, Lauren, and Tina to build this bad boy, which is the events template. This is the slippers version of it, so it's pretty close to completion. This has been merged in with new iterations coming, but this is a little taste of what this will look like when we port it over into www. It's truly, it takes a village. It looks great. Cool. So on to Brandon's things. Brandon has been working on A/B tests, a lot of A/B testing, and so he's added some engineering documentation in the handbook. So that link just shows a handbook page with how to run an A/B test so that we can all follow along, which we're using Launch Darkly for. So that's great. And then there's also an MR checklist that we can go along once we create A/B tests. This link might, yeah, I was having trouble opening this link as well, but we'll find it and it does exist. And then the retro template also for A/B testing. So yeah, there's a checklist here for making sure we run through these after A/B testing. And then I've lost my place. Yeah, social media open graphs. So whenever we make new pages and we want to have a Twitter image or something like that for social, this is how external people outside of our team can request those. So there's a little template update there. And then he also worked on the FAQ accordions on the pricing page, I think, yeah, number 14. So he's been working on that with a release on Monday. Partner pages, this is some stuff that had been left behind from Sunmi. So AWS is released, and we're working on releasing IBM next week. And then next is me. As mentioned before, we worked on the install page and did a few iterations on that. And then I built out a remote work landing page. So that is live, and that went out Tuesday of last week, I think. So that one you can show. I don't have too much else to show, but yeah, so this is an upgrade from the 2020 report. We now have the 2021 version with these pull quotes and yeah, partner cards, which are using slippers also, which is cool. And then I also, Tyler had pointed out that I should refactor our event countdown, number 18 there. And so doing that, I used some lifecycle hooks, which I'd only ever done in React. So doing it in Vue was kind of cool. And that's it for me. And next is Hobby.
Thank you, Laura. I worked on the DevSecOps page. I have the MR here in Slippers, the MR here in www. I don't know why I'm showing you this because there's nothing for me to show you, but if you go to about.gitlab.com/developer survey, you'll see that page, which has been like a big like cross-functional effort that different teams have been working on. Number 20, SLP component generator. I'm going to open that MR because it's kind of interesting for the developers on this side of the workflow. If you're ever trying to add a component to Slippers right now, you essentially have to do a ton of copy and pasting from other existing components or just know what you're doing. And that's like kind of annoying and tricky. So like I created essentially a little script that like when you call yarn like generate the name of a component, it'll generate all of the necessary directories, template for both the story file and the view file, and then it'll add it to the main bundle. So that's really helpful, so that like essentially all of like the menial tasks, time-consuming work that happens when you're trying to write new components, it gets all automated away. Automation is nice, so we should use it whenever possible. This is like almost done. It just needs like one little thing to get merged. And I did an iteration for navigation that is currently work in progress. I have not asked anyone to look at it because there's still stuff that needs to be fixed. For the most part, the 1.1 stuff that I listed in the MR from the previous iteration has been done. I am looking to integrate this with About in some way, and I am going to try to figure out how to do that. One of the challenges that we have is that because Slippers is being produced on a page-by-page basis and we want navigation to be globally accessible, we might have to do some mental gymnastics to get that to work. I'm wondering what will happen if we just try plopping it in. I assume that it's going to completely break, as with the blog stuff that Tyler did. So I'm not sure if we're going to, in implementation for that, we're going to use something similar to like the web component technology that Tyler wrote in his blog post. I don't know if that makes more sense for what we're doing here, but I just wanted to call out that that's like something that's on the horizon for this stuff, because as mentioned by previous members of this team at various points throughout the 2 weeks, it'd be great if people can actually see the navigation that we've built. And so trying to figure out how to get that to work, I think will be a bit of a challenge, but we're getting work there done. Next up is Lauren.
So worked with some Lean, Tyler, and Chad to launch the Handbook Separation Working Group. So we've got a handbook page. It was decided this week that we're actually not going to work on it this quarter, but we're ready to fire this up when it does happen. So that took a lot of cross collaboration for us to get really clean on why we're going to do it and what we're going to solve. And then also enabled the Slippers event proxy so that we could actually build the event template in www. So that's there and ready, and we'll start building those components next iteration. Jess.
Cool. So the first one there is just some bonus research that I did. There's a video if people want to watch and see what people are actually saying, getting quotes from the users. There's also this issue here where I've just written out all my observations, and this will set us up for Q2 really nicely. And then the next thing on there is the free trial update. And you can open the Figma file, you'll see it's a bit different than our current one. We're really focusing on SAS as the default, and then giving a secondary option to self-managed. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see there's actually a form we can embed for self-managed, which we can't do for SAS currently, and really proactively answering people's questions with FAQs and just overall big copy changes. So it'll be much clearer for the user what they're getting out of signing up for a free trial. The next thing is some updates to slippers on the design side. So one thing is a button with an icon attached. As you can see up with Twitter or whoever we happen to need at the time. You can keep this one open, Javi. The second one after this is just updates to buttons in general. So making sure we're consistent with our like disabled across the board is kind of using the same style. A new event, which is like on click or pressed. So when you actually click on the button, if you remove the drop shadow, it gives like a 3D effect that you've actually pressed something. So we added that in there as well. And then the last thing is, just updates to go down one more, radio buttons and checkboxes. And they're pretty subtle. I don't know if you're going to really notice much, but just like reducing the outline to 1 pixel and again, making them consistent across the board. Yeah, just some slippers updates, that's all. And Steven's up.
Yep, there's only one for me, which is an update to inline links. I discussed it with Lauren yesterday, so it's a quick win. Just popped up in a couple of conversations during the week, so very summary for me.
All right, I think that's it then. That's it for this quarter. That's it for the sprint. See you in 2 weeks.